I am glad you're there watching Living Television. We are back again on issues of the moment. Today we are looking at the crisis in Apga, at the national. Today the Supreme Court has asked Chief Njoku to formally write to it in accordance with its rules to correct the accidental slip in the judgment that reinstated him as the authentic national chairman of All Progressive Grand Alliance, that is Apga, instead of Chief Victor Oye. Now, it will be recalled that the judgment of a panel of the Apex Court, headed by Justice Mary Odili, now retired, had reinstated Oye's name instead of Njoku's name, even when the court had given Oye the value of becoming the national chairman of the party. But Oye's name, Njoku's name was not replaced with, Njoku's name was not replaced, yet Oye remained. And that had caused a very big crisis in the party until recently. The National Court has asked, the Supreme Court has asked Chief Njoku to formally write to them, so to correct what they call accidental slip in that judgment. Counsel.
Well, thank you, moderator, and good day, viewers. Happy to be back. Well, I have not read the judgment, and I would not pretend that I know about the judgment I'm not aware of. But I will speak generally. The Supreme Court, yes, like most other courts, of course, have provision for correction of accidental slips, even after judgment had been given. And I will paint a little scenario. Let us take something like you have a claimant or a defendant or appellant and respondent. And Mr. A has appealed to the court as appellant, and Mr. R has joined him there as respondent. Now, going through the judgment of the Supreme Court, you will discover that all along they have been talking about appellant, and at the end of the day, they made findings or in reaction to issues raised in the argument of the appellant, agreeing with the appellant that this is supposed to be your position. But then, in conclusion, rather than use the word appellant, respondent is erroneously used. Looking at it, you would discover immediately that that was an what you call accidental slip. And the rules of the court permit that particular court to correct such upon discovery of same. They don't just go to correct it. You must bring an application, a proper application to the court. It usually comes by way of motion on notice. You apply to the court stating the facts. And of course, it is that court that gave the judgment. And they know what they intended to say in the first place. And once they agree with you, they will explain it. So it is like a postscript where minutes have been given. And in it, they now clarify that, of course, looking at it logically and commonsensically, there's no way we could have intended to refer to respondent instead of appellant. It is actually appellant that we intended to refer to. And so, in page so and so, paragraph so and so of our judgment, where we had erroneously or mistakenly referred to respondent, please substitute the word appellant. And the appellant is so. That will be done. Remember, I said generally, I'm not discussing the facts of this particular case because I am here to read the judgment, so I cannot be specific.
All right. Apga has not been in the news lately. Yeah. And we also know that the way of President Victor Oye we were talking about has always been this national chairman. Shortly before this person approached just like the council said, approached the Supreme Court, because Oye had, in the High Court then, I was proclaimed the chairman until they got to the apex court, where he was now declared. And he was also referred to as the national chairman of Apga. And if you compare the crisis in the national and even in our state here, you know the Guba candidate, the one we know here in Apga State.
They have 2 or 3, I presume.
They have 2 here.
Okay, they have 2 Guba candidates.
The most popular now has soft-pedaled in his campaign because of the recent court decision. They asked to go for a primary election, to continue. And while this one is now coming up. And comrade, you are not just being a historian, and you have been in Abia State. With this level of crisis and the gravity of campaign this man embarked upon, what do you think will become of Apga in this state?
I think it will create a huge internal crisis, yes, because we were here talking about that the fact that other parties had their own internal crisis, whether you're talking about BDP or APC, in at state level, at what level. Remember recently in the BDP did what we call a house clearing, where some members were actually suspended, and then Governor Wike said he would be heading to the court. In Ekiti State, then I think the campaign council had been dissolved by the now Association of Working Community. In Enugu State, Timothy had also been suspended. All these things happen, whether they become post-election matter or pre-election matter, they will always happen. But the thing is that this thing had been happening before the election of Charles Chukwuma Soludo took place, you understand? Yes. But the question I have is, if this man now, the problem is that if this man now, whom the court had said the judgment or the pronouncement was in error, understand? Yeah. Now had actually held primary elections, it would be a problem. If his faction had held primary elections, that's where you begin to have more problems.
That's one of the problems, yes, because he held the primary election.
Now,
he conducted it.
Yeah, now it's going to be a problem. Now again, there is something about this all, and I think I remember one thing when they were talking about this. What Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Chukwudifu Okutapane said, he said the Supreme Court, he said, we are infallible because we are final. We are not final because we are infallible. He said we are infallible because we are final. So anything the Supreme Court rules stands, understand? There is no, since 1967, when Nigeria became a republic, then the Privy Council ceased to be the highest appellate court of the land, you understand? In Britain, there is no appeal against any judgment of the Supreme Court. So, and it happened during the Imo State political saga between former governor Yedioha and then the incumbent, you understand? When the court ruled in Italy and then decided that the person who placed fault should be now declared winner and returned as such. So, in all these things, and I think I like what counsel said. He said, when this thing happens, you understand, the court will now require you to do what? You write to them, correspondence, you now write to them. And
no, actually, it's a court process. Yes, you apply.
You apply. That's application is writing.
No, not like the moderator has said, write a letter to them. Or no, it's not. It's actually a motion.
Okay, motions. Okay, now you forward a motion, and then they take your case into consideration. So, since the court meant to say candidate A1 and mistakenly pronounced candidate B, and now that has been reversed, there is no replying over it. But the issue is that within Apga, it's going to bring about serious problems.
Yes, in the state here, Apga is facing a serious problem because the two candidates, majorly Chiko Densi and Greg Ibe, Densi now went back to court, and the court now had said they must go back for primary election again. And then, before now, every Abian had believed that Greg Ibe had Abia ticket until the recent until the recent pronouncement. And the council, don't you think this is an advantage to other parties? Because now the primary election has not been held, and we have less than, okay, we still have some time, a few months for the Guba election.
Few months?
Not few months. A month.
We just have few days.
Okay,
roughly 1 month. Well, like a comrade did observe, almost every political party in Abia State has one form of internal crisis or the other. Almost every one of them either is in court or has been in court. Even the APC is not free. In Abia State today, the APC, they also have two. Yeah, they have two candidates. Yeah. Today they will tell us it is
for the Supreme Court.
Yes, today they will tell us it is Ikechi Emenike. Tomorrow Uchoga. Next tomorrow they will swing back again. So it, of course, it has destabilized them. The people I would say have some measure of stability would be the PDP, because yes, they also had theirs.
They also have their problem too.
But luckily for them,
not on their candidates.
Yeah,
it does.
About the three-man committee.
Yes.
It's also affecting the
PDP.
Yes.
Yeah, the three-man candidate of a thing.
So when the not a three-man delegate, the delegates. So some of them went to court in the Federal High Court. There were about 2 sets of litigation thereabout. They lost.
Yeah, that one has been quashed.
No. Unknown to you, they went to the Court of Appeal. And again, they lost. So you will now find that there has been some measure of stability, because consistently that faction has lost. They can equally proceed to the Supreme Court. It is their right. Whether they have done so or not, we are yet to see. But the point being made is that virtually all of them have the problem, one or the other, but the one that seems to have somehow been able to resolve its own judicially appears to be the PDP. The rest are still battling with it. I mean, the other 2 major contenders. Even the Labour also had its own. Yeah. From there, initially they did, and after a while they came up with Zenith Labour Party.
One of us is the deputy governor candidate.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. So, yes. So, that it is actually confusing them, because their logo seems to contain human beings. And so you find that Labour Party, the mainstream Labour Party, has been engaging in serious advocacy, trying to enlighten and educate its followership.
They are even writing down to put the picture of their candidate.
So as to make it, yes.
On the ballot.
But that cannot be, because, I mean, they have a register symbol. That was what they submitted to INEC. So finally, it is not Uhuru for any party. All of them are facing it. But whereas some their own appears resolved or mild at the moment, others are really in the quagmire. They are really in the quagmire. The APC, their own is uncertainty personified. Apga has now joined. They don't know what to do. So when are they going to do the primaries, the fresh primaries, and come up with, whosoever wins it will now need to restart campaigns?
There is something the Electoral Act says about primary election, and I don't think whether I can base it now, whether 90 days or to 21 days. There is a timeline, and I wouldn't know the possibility of that not affecting. And I think the court should also be wise.
Once the court has made a pronouncement, because the law has given time limit for determination of the candidates, of the pre-election matters. Yeah. And so it must expire. Its lifespan must expire by a certain time, so as to allow before the actual poll, so as to allow INEC to equally get itself organized. Because if on the eve of election you now come to tell INEC that it is this party and not the other party that will be there, or it is this candidate and not the other candidate, they will now start running around trying to adjust records. And where they are unable to do so, it becomes another ground for election petition after.
All right. A few days after he was suspended by the National Working Committee NWC of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Senator Chimaroke Nnamani launched a full campaign for Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate for the Progressive Congress (APC).
Yeah.
Now, this is a man who said he was not given fair hearing and that he's going to sue the party. And openly now he has launched a full campaign. Is that not one of the reasons why?
I mentioned this in passing when I was giving my analysis on intra-party conflict or disputes, as it may be, or as it relates to these political parties we just mentioned, and council do justice to all of them. Even from the legal perspective or the angle. Chimaroke Nnamani, to me, why would his name be on APC campaign list in the first place? You also remember that his name was on the list, Bola Tinubu list, whereas he is a PDP member.
That's what led to the suspicion.
Yes, and then again, he didn't hide it. He had been campaigning for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, including
the Jagaban.
Yes, the Jagaban himself, and the Emilokon
of our time.
Of our party.
of our time. He's the Emilokon of our time.
In the west of the vice president, Emilokon of our time, Emilokon of our party, APC. Now, you see, he has enjoyed, in fact, whatever political office he has held, he held that on the platform of the PDP. And the constitution is very clear that candidates, or the electoral act is very clear that the candidate will run on the platform of political parties, meaning that the political parties are voted for. Yeah. You understand? Since they provide their platform, just like we are talking here, Labour Party was saying that the pictures of the candidates should be also embedded on the ballot. Even not minding to know whether the ballot has already been printed and is being kept somewhere for safety purpose. Now they implement that. To me, Chimaroke Nnamani has never conducted himself as a PDP member, as far as I'm concerned. In recent days, you still remember he even fell out with the obedience in some of his utterances. You understand? He talked about structure. He talked about Bola Tinubu being the real candidate, and so to me, what PDP did is timely. But the issue that PDP should also be careful how they handle this internal affair, because I do not know yet how this may extend to the G5 governors. Because only 2 days or so ago, Wike was threatening to go to court in the case of Ekiti, where the council, the campaign council of the party was dissolved by the National Working Committee. And also, we've seen that in the PDP, certain candidates are neither here nor there. You understand? Even in the APC, Atiku comes to Ekiti State, you do not see former governor there. Yes, even
the chairman of the
Njoku State, you don't see Chimaroke Nnamani and the rest of it. So it shows you that obviously these ones, we know where their political brain is buttered.
Yeah, counsel, while threatening to go to court, and he was not given, there was no chance for fair hearing, according to him, and he's openly campaigning for another political party. Has he any chance to come back to PDP?
In Nigeria, cross-carpeting is now the order of the day. Politicians do not have principles. They lack shame, they lack all kinds of self-decorum. And you just wake up, you've been in a political party, you'll be talking in favor of another political party. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you try to justify it and still remain where you are. It can only happen in Nigeria, where they do not have any shame and people are not held accountable for whatever they have done. Chimaroke Nnamani's attitude has simply confirmed his anti-party disposition. And you know that in politics, partisan politics, the way we play it in Nigeria, anti-party, as they call it, disposition is akin to plotting a coup. It's akin to treason or treasonable felony within the party. So he has simply justified it. Let him go to court and let him also be prepared to explain his actions.
Yeah, okay, before I come to you, comrade, because you're a member of this People's Democratic Party,
Yes.
and also the, I think the campaign, is it leader or director?
I'm not a campaign leader.
The professionals.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Atiku Professionals.
Atiku Professionals.
Yes, or the real name is Nigerian Professionals for Atiku, yes.
Okay, now, if you look at this, and then thinking about the number of persons,
Yes.
suspended in a PDP, how are you sure that your candidate is going to make a headway?
So which one would be better? That you allow the saboteurs to remain within the system. It's like having a virus in the system that is still there pretending to be a good cell, whereas it has turned cancerous. So what do? You allow it to remain there, eating the being from the host from within, and you are still covering it as if, no, you don't allow the wound to fester. The proper thing is to open up the wound, clean it out, expose it, and then apply the necessary proper treatment. Not to pretend that all is well and just continue partying it because you're going to face election. Personally, I think that some of these steps ought to have taken even long before now. But I know that the party had been trying to exhaust all kinds of amicable and peaceful resolution of the matter. And it is when they probably came to a conclusion that considering the time, it may not be effective again. It's not as if the party is not aware of what these people have been doing. But the party, by so doing...
They recently discovered
yes,
they are unrepentant.
They also want to tell the world that we haven't been silly all along. Okay. We've been making efforts, but now, since this person has refused, let us now officially distance ourselves from him. So that not when you call a party meeting, the man walks in. If you try to look at him somehow, everybody will say, he's still a member of the party, he hasn't been suspended. But right now that he has been suspended, he can no longer walk into the party meeting. If he tries to do that, everybody will say, leave us, you have been suspended.
While you're taking a lead on that, I also want you to look at this statement that no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, but permanent interest. And then what is wrong if you're in a political party A and you are supporting a candidate A and B, but the other candidate is in that same party? You, for one reason or the other, you don't like him, want to support another man in another party.
Yes, I think it was Lord Acton.
I don't understand, even though the question is meant for him.
Yeah, what I mean, you are a PDP man.
Yes.
And then you are supporting a team.
Yes.
At the national.
Yes.
And then back here in the state.
Yes.
You don't like who they have as your either senatorial candidate or governorship candidate. And then you decide to, after voting Atiku at the presidential level, you decide to vote another man in another party.
There are two different things. We'll get back to you, sir. But for purposes of what our law has said, you cannot compel somebody to disclose who he voted for. It's different from campaigning. There are two different things. So you can remain within a particular political party and campaign for your party candidate A. On the day of voting,
you vote against
it is secret ballot. You go and vote B.
Yes.
Don't tell us you voted B, and no person can compel you to disclose who you voted for.
I wanted to make clear that with a scenario that has already happened, that has already played out in the past.
Okay.
You know that in the polling unit, polling agents for the parties are also supposed to cast their vote. In most cases, candidates score 0. You ask yourself, how do the candidates score 0 in a particular polling? It means that the agents didn't even vote. Or for her. That's the meaning. So
you are right.
Yes, polling agents didn't even vote for their own person, and they will score 0. That is why.
No, in the days of vote buying, you know they buy them over there, right there at the polling units.
The reason is immaterial. They said that it translates to 0 votes. Why they now didn't vote is immaterial.
Whether there was inducement,
yes, or lack of conviction,
or even lack of conviction is a different ballgame. But then it shows you that yes, candidates may not even get support from the places they're supposed to get those support, including their political base or what you call bloc. Now back to the question of no permanent friend, no permanent enemies. It was Lord Acton who meant that he said that states in matters of international affairs shall not have permanent friends and permanent enemies. It means that in dealing with what they seesaw, you see. So, but in the Machiavellian principle, that has also become a doctrine or a way of politicking, especially in Nigeria, beginning from the early 50s, the days of Azikiwe and Awolowo, where we heard about cross-carpeting, people cross the red carpet to the other side and now become, automatically, they become members of the other side. But in Nigeria, council says something, politics is not played with principles, neither is it played with ideology. You see, it is hard to know the ideology of APC or the PDP. It is difficult to know the ideology of the APC or the PDP. If you follow American politics very well, you see that one of the political parties, the Democrats, they are supporting abortion, they are supporting to an extent, same-sex marriage.
Anything goes.
Yes, then liberalism. That's
anything goes.
Now, the Democrats, they are given to war. Sometimes they want to cut on some of these liberal packages. Now, in Nigeria, we don't have such. PDP and the APC and all of them, there is hardly a distinguishing, in fact, there is hardly an ideology that distinguishes one from the other. And the both do appear to be half of a dozen, then six of the other. That's just the meaning. So, Ken Naman can still be APC. Can still be a PDP with his Eban. You must know he has Eban structure. With his Eban structure. We were read with a CNN advert in the 90s when this man came on board. Eban structure. And that will still be working for another person.
All right. Because of time, let us just take this one and close with it today because of its urgency and importance. I'm talking about, as the 31st January 2023 is the deadline given by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to phase out the old Naira notes. And it's the time we're talking about is, I think it's less than a week, or thereabout. Then economics experts have said that refusing to extend the time is going to spell doom on the economy of this country. What was your take on that?
Going to spell doom.
That's on the economy.
Well,
but the time is short.
Yes. Do not
and
forget.
That even the money is not in circulation. The new Naira note is not circulating as it should.
Do not forget that part of the reason for making the timeline short, the deadline, is to target a particular mischief.
Okay.
And that is vote buying. I would want to believe that when that mischief has been sufficiently handled and dealt with, that the notes would equally open up. Now, do not forget that the CBN took the banks, the leadership of the various commercial banks, into confidence and carried them along in implementing this formula. Along the line, the banks are now part of the people asking for extension, and the CBN said, no, we are the ones that agreed with us. The CBN is equally accusing the banks, the leadership of the banks, accusing them of sabotaging that particular move they want to make to deal with this mischief, that they are hoarding the new notes and probably passing on also to high-profile politicians so as to assist them with the vote buying. I do not see any form of doom or disaster. No, certainly not. People have gotten used to, in Nigeria, quite a lot. There's a lot of awareness now, spending with your ATM card. That I'm not pretending that there's not going to be some hardship. There would be, certainly. But it is not to the extent or level of doom or crisis, no. There will be some hiccups here and there, and difficulty and challenges here and there, but I think if we mean to target that mischief and deal with it, then too much money shouldn't even be in circulation.
Okay, comrade,
yes.
Do you think that without extending this deadline as mentioned by INEC, just in 20 seconds, do you think is insensitive?
Well, if it continues this way, we may have a problem. The aim of this exercise is to mop up. You may not be able to mop up. I mean, to bring all the existing old currencies so far now, to bring them back to banking vault or to bank vault, it may be a problem, and that may amount to loss. These monies were printed with money, and they are supposed to be recalled, and then their number, you understand, used for what? Production of other currencies. So if we miss it, in fact, at the rural areas, we may miss. I don't know whether the loss may start in billions or trillions. It's going to be a huge loss. You understand? If it continues this way. Now, the CBS should actually step up as the Apex Bank. It is known as the Bankers Bank. It shouldn't be telling us that the commercial banks are trying to sabotage. To me, that is not acceptable. There are ways of punishing these banks, and the CBN Act actually made CBN is an independent body, different from the Ministry of Finance. So the CBN has what is called OMO, that's open market operation, through which it either buys or lets assets from this bank. So it knows what to actually do, you understand? The needful should be done to make sure that these banks tag along, because as I'm seeing it now, if it continues this way, CBN cannot achieve this purpose. Yes, granted, the banks could be sabotaging and working with political and economic elites. But don't also forget that the same CBN issued a directive telling the banks not to pay anybody over the counter transaction, you understand, in new currencies. Everything old currency should be, everything over the counter payment should be done using the old note. Whereas the ATM should now dispense the new note. So I think the CBN should actually begin now to wield the stick than talk.
All right, wonderful viewers, that's the much we're going to take for today. So, but remember, it is important, don't keep the old notes with you. 31st January is by the corner. Make sure you go to your nearest bank and make sure you put them. Even if it is 1,000, considering the nature of the economy today, 1,000 is a big money to a lot of homes. So make sure you go to a nearby bank or that the POS or whatever, and make sure you get the new note, and even if you don't have the new note at hand, but make sure the old one don't remain with you beyond 31st January. Having said so, this is where we're drawing the curtain today. From my far left again is Comrade Nnamdi Elekwaji. Comrade, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you, viewers.
And Barrister Chukwemeka Wogo, we're glad to have you.
Thank you, moderator, and goodbye, viewers.
And thank you. Tomorrow will be Nigeria Today. And keep watching Living TV. This is your anchor man, Chinedum Adiele, signing off.
And so you can keep on watching Living TV. I can say in pidgin English. Living TV. Unade Kampe.
Living TV, bringing the word first to you. First.